Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hello, my name is Ben Thomas and you're watching Combat Sports UK. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. It's the only, it's Mr. Richard Shaw. Richard, thank you very much for joining me this morning. How are you doing?
Morning, Ben. Not too bad, buddy. Not too bad.
Good, that's what we love to hear. Well, let's just get straight into it and start by talking about Cage Warriors Academy Wales 9, which took place on Saturday night in Ebbw Vale. First of all, congratulations on another sensational card. There were so many high-level knockouts and submissions. And in my personal opinion, the quality continues to improve drastically as the cards go on. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think we're seeing that across the board everywhere with amateur MMA now. These kids training amateur, you know, they're doing 2 sessions a day, sometimes more. They're training like full-time athletes. So I just think year on year now, you're going to see the level just get better and better. You know, there's lots of amateurs on that card yesterday that would, do really well in the pro ranks if they were to move tomorrow, I believe.
And it was a rather successful night for your fighters at Shaw MMA by going 10-4. Out of all the fighters from your gym that took part on the card, which ones maybe caught your eye or impressed you potentially the most?
I think Levi Bachelor fought a really top tier opponent. I mean, the kid was 8-1, just won the French version of the Four Nations, so he's ranked #1 in France. 8-1 record. I think it's like a 7-fight win streak. So we knew it was going to be a tough fight. I think he's elite level judo. I think he was picked for his country for the Olympics as well. But I just felt, Levi done Levi. I think if Levi turns up and performs like he did on Saturday, he's capable of beating anybody in the country, no problem at all. I think after that performance, I'll probably have a bit of work matching him on the next card. Probably have to fly somebody in again. But, for me, he's a full package. He can do it all. He can strike, he can wrestle, and we've seen for the first time Saturday, which obviously I've been aware of for quite long. He can grapple off his back, finishing with a textbook triangle. So I thought Levi, Jay Aspinwall was outstanding. I mean, he's just beaten Canley, who's the Four Nations champion. I think Jay's one that can go as far as he really wants. He's a natural athlete. He's athletic. He's a talent. He punches like a train. So we've seen his submission again on the weekend. And I think the other 2 title fights as well. I think Ellis Clement and Bevan Hall both stood out. And if we're going to look at anything off the undercard, I'm a bit biased now, but I think Johan Thomas in particular, again, he's just going to be more of a nightmare, for me to match as we move forward. But I was pleased with the card, not just my guys. I felt the quality of the card right from top to bottom delivered, So too many to narrow down into 1 or 2. I think it was a lot of positives come out of the night.
Yeah, I mean, in about 25 fights or whatever there was on Saturday, it's a bit difficult to narrow it down to just a few fighters, isn't it? But
yeah. Well, and it's just sort of like the 27 fights. We always match 28 fights, always. And we usually end up with about 20, 22 because of pullouts and we rearrange it. And this is the first show ever where up until the final week, we've not had one pullout. If they were pullouts, their coaches replaced them with somebody straight away. And there was one pullout on the week leading up to the fight. So we ended up with a bit of a tight schedule, but we pulled it off.
Yeah, I mean, 4 title fights, you don't see that very often on amateur cards, but it's an absolute sensational night. But you just mentioned Bethan there, and heading into Saturday night, and even in the cage before the fight and in the middle of the rounds, there was seeming to be a bit of bad blood between the two. Obviously, Talon Jones had beaten Bethan Hall back in 2021, but then Bethan secured the second round submission and secured the flyweight title. Just how impressed were you with how focused Bethan remained in there? Because at his age, going for his first title, I could imagine it's very easy to lose track of the fight and make some mistakes. How impressed were you?
He's one of these kids. He's got a self-belief as well. You can't coach that into people. He truly believes he's going to go all the way to the UFC. And I'm inclined to agree with him. His work rate in the gym, his training, his attitude. I mean, he's a perfect student. And again, he's another one of the kids. He's a new breed. He can do it all. He can strike, he can wrestle, and he can grapple from top position or underneath. So he's got a load there on young shoulders. I mean, when he comes in the gym, there's no messing around. He's on time, he's changed, and he's straight in there. And listen, these youngsters, particularly in my place, what an environment where you're sharing the match with Brett Johns, Jack Shaw, Josh Reed, Oban Elliott, some high-level pros here, Scotty Pellison, even such a such a range of talent there. You can only be anything other than inspired. And I think what we have with our guys is that they've seen that we've got a blueprint to get into the UFC, and if they're patient, if they train hard, and if they follow what we've got in place at the gym, as long as they put the effort in, the world's their oyster as such.
And another fighter as well. You mentioned his name a moment ago, and every time we speak, Richard, I mean, we always speak about Johan Thomas. He's the future of Welsh mixed martial arts, and he kept his undefeated record intact and added a second finish to his collection. What is next for Johan, honestly? Because I asked him Saturday about a potential shot at a title, and because he's so young,
I mean, it's his age more. I mean, he's got all the ability. He's got all the ability, but there's no rush. He's 17, How many 17-year-olds has got a 6-0 record? And he fought James Patty on the weekend, and for me, that was his toughest fight. James is a legitimate, savage. Them boys don't come down from Scotland to make up the numbers. They come in down there to win. James is like tough, durable, very talented in all areas, and just showed how competent Johan is. He's going to be a nightmare, Ben, if I'm honest. Because in theory, if he does like any IMAF tournaments, they'll want him to do no headshots, pointless. He's going backwards with that. So the IMAF is out of the equation until he's 18. So it's just a case of me doing my job. And again, he's another one. Maybe I'll have to bring some guys from outside of the UK to compete with him.
I mean, you're definitely going to have a hard time matching him up next card. I tell you that for a fact. But is it only a matter of time before he does get his hands on Cage Warriors Academy Wales gold? Because from the outside looking in, obviously you don't want to rush him, and he doesn't want to rush himself. And I think that's a very respectable decision for a 17-year-old lad. But it's surely only a matter of time, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, mate, say he wins the title. Where does he go there? He's 17. I'm not looking to send him pro at 18, 19 years of age. He's got a long old apprenticeship in front of him. Once he's 18, the job becomes easier. I can travel with him to these different IMAF tournaments and get experience against the foreign guys from all around the world. Without the format is good because you don't know who you're fighting, so you've got to turn up, be ready to fight any sort of style on the day. But no, there's no rush with him, and people forget he's 17, he's a kid. There's a lot of pressure on him now just with this undefeated record. Man, just sticking a belt around his waist as well. Sometimes when we're rushing these youngsters too soon, it can eat them up and crumble them a little bit, and it becomes not such an enjoyable process when you're carrying that pressure. We did it with Jack. We're probably the first team in the UK at the time to have turned down UFC contracts on multiple occasions. They were coming for Jack Shaw when he was 3-0, then when he was 8-0, and it was a case of us knowing when's the right time for him to move on that particular stage of their career. And but when, like I said, 17, he's probably got 2-3 years of amateur experience to build up before I look at second pro, and probably another 12 months before I even consider fighting for a title.
Well, I mean, he's going to go all the way. That kid is so talented. But with the fighters who lost, and to be fair, you can also say this about the ones who won. I saw on various social media platforms on Monday night that a large majority of them went straight back into training and they were sharpening their tools that night. Just how proud does it make you feel knowing that you formed such a hard-working and motivated bunch of individuals?
I think what we got is unique. It's we were having this conversation last week with us that it's a special environment. Like you go to these big gyms abroad, and the fighters turn up just for themselves. You know what I mean? So they've only got concerns about themselves. With us, we've got a real team spirit. So everybody wants everybody to do well. If somebody's having a bad shift, the rest of the team are getting behind them, G'ing them up on that particular session. If somebody's struggling in a particular area, whether it be the other experienced guys are working with them. And there's a real camaraderie and a real team. I pride myself that I don't allow assholes in the gym. You won't last in that. You won't last in our team if you come in with the wrong attitude. And it's just great to see. Everybody and the attitude. I think it's been a perfect storm. Jack having a fantastic win in the UFC, followed by the Cage Warriors Academy. That's given everybody a boost, right, to head into the Cage Warriors Academy show. And then afterwards, it's a case of, right, let's get back to the gym. June the 10th isn't a million miles away. And everybody's preparing and looking to improve all the time. But yeah, it's a great atmosphere there. It's a great environment. And as I said, I think we got something really special here. And, We have people come down to visit. Reece McEwen from Scotland comes down on a regular basis, and I think if you spoke to him, he would tell you that what we've got there is like quite unique to what you would find at your average MMA gym.
And now you just mentioned it there, the next Cage Warriors Academy Wales card. It does take place on June 10th. And at Cage Warriors Academy Wales 8, I believe it was, when we spoke to you, you kind of gave us a teaser of a potential card taking place in Cardiff. And on the most recent poster, I might be kind of like looking a bit too into it. There isn't a location where normally there might be.
No, it's Ebbw Vale. It'll be Ebbw Vale June 10th. We've spoken to a couple of venues in Cardiff, and one in particular we were quite hot on, but they've moved venues now. I couldn't believe it when it's just one we see. So that is something we may look at towards the end of the year. But if I'm honest, Ebbw Vale, I think, creates a special atmosphere as well. I think, the actual staff at the centre, they know the show inside out, so everything runs perfect. My team that work for Cage Warriors Academy Wales, all the runners, the judges, the staff that look after the event during the day and in the evening, everything's in place now. It's perfect. It runs smooth. There's never no errors or issues. It's a perfectly well-oiled machine at the moment. But Cardiff is definitely something we're looking at, but it's got to be the right date and the right venue. Some of the venues we looked at were good venues, but the dates didn't fall right. We got to be mindful of rugby internationals, particularly in Wales. Got to be mindful of other shows in the area. So like some dates that we wanted, we couldn't get. There were some venues where we were saying we'd need it on the Friday and the Saturday. They can only do the Saturday. Everybody thinks MMA promoting is easy. Find a room, put a cage in it, have a shot. The logistics find my mind, and this is at our level. God knows what running a UFC event must be like. But hopefully Cardiff towards the end of the year, but 100% at the moment, the 3 dates we got booked in will all be Ebbw Vale. So June the 10th and then October the 14th will all be Ebbw Vale events, with the possibility of one maybe either before Christmas or between June and October in Cardiff.
Lovely. We look forward to those as always. But most of Sure MMA fought on Saturday. Can we expect to see most of those return on June 10th? Will Bethan maybe defend his title? Levi as well?
No, Levi will definitely be fighting. Bethan won't. Just the fact he's finishing his apprenticeship, he has to go away for 2 weeks with his job. And that's a fortnight before the actual fight. So he'll bypass that one, maybe do the 4 Nations. We'll see. But yeah, the majority of the guys that you saw on Saturday, I think there's 1 or 2 that can't make it because of holidays or whatever. And there's a few lads that didn't fight on the card that you may see on the card as well. So, like I said, we had 15 fighters originally. Due to the pull-out, we ended up with 14. So it was a long old night. But yeah, I'd say the majority, 90% at least, will be back in June.
One man that we maybe haven't seen in quite some time is Rowan Crocker. Will he be making his return on that card?
He's injured at the moment. He's come back from the Worlds, came back with a silver, which is an unbelievable achievement. Again, with Rowan, got to be careful with Rowan now because some fights that maybe don't make sense. Do you know what I mean? Because of the level that he's at. So I don't want to be matching him against guys that I know he's going to go in and just obliterate in 2 rounds. It's no good for him with his apprenticeship. So we'll see how his injury goes. He's struggling with his wrist at the moment. Once we get that sorted, he's doing a bit of physio and seeing a specialist about it. But yeah, there's a strong possibility you'll see Rowan as long as he's fit and well. And it's the right fight on June.
Let's now move on and discuss your extremely successful weekend at UFC 286 as Jack made a statement to the featherweight division. Heading into that contest, there were a few questions on social media about Jack maybe handling the step up in weight. I did see that you replied to a large majority of those on social media because you do enjoy getting back to him. I do see that. But how impressed were you with his step up in performance?
Yeah, it was everything we thought it would be. We've been pressing, me and the coaching team, for 18 months, 2 years for him to move up. And I think it took the loss to Ricky Simon for him to realise that how he was preparing the last few months for a fight was not healthy. He was training more like a long distance marathon runner, complete calorie deficit, and everything was about the weight in, the weight down. And listen, even on his wins, it was impairing. He was picking up niggly injuries in training constantly. His finishing rate, right through the early part of his career, he was a finisher. Then the last 3 fights were all decisions that he's won. I think that was down to him not having those energy levels to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Listen, I got featherweights in the gym. he's big compared to some of the featherweights have got at the gym at Pro. I've been going to high level events for a long time, the Cage Warriors, Bellator, UFC, and I'm constantly eyeing up the featherweights, thinking, well, Jack's a bigger frame than him. Jack's a bigger frame than him. So I knew physically it would be no issue. I think he's a bit tentative round one. I think that was a lot of pressure on him moving up in the weight class, coming off his first loss, back in England fighting. But no, it was everything I thought. And Jack at featherweight can do what he done in round 2 for 5 rounds, no problem at all. I just think you see the next fight now, you'll see him at a better level again.
Well, in a weird way, that loss to Ricky Simone, was that kind of an eye-opener for Jack? Was that, looking back now, is it kind of not a positive in a way?
A bit of a
know where I'm coming from.
I think it's a bit of a blessing in disguise, because he said it himself in some of the interviews, if he'd won, it's easy to forget how horrific the weight cuts are when you keep winning. So I think he's proven in the past he can take a shot. I don't think his recovery was too great off the shot, which dropped him, and then Ricky's followed up with a submission. But it was just everything. The 7 days before the fight was a nightmare. Constant running, constant trying to get that weight down. And as I said, I think the loss then has made him think, well, he's taken that monkey off his back a little bit. We did it the right way. I contacted Paul Reed. They put us onto the John Lennon University Hospital in Liverpool. We went up there, done a DEXA scan, bone density, done bloods. And they were actually saying to Jack at the testing, listen, for all the combat athletes we've got on our books, you're one of the biggest featherweights we've got. How you've been making bantamweight is unreal, So it was a case of he was going to do himself some long-term damage, I believe, physically, if he continued to try and make. It's been a really enjoyable camp, this one. He's picked up no niggles. He's eating the right amount of calories. He's eating well for the training. His energy levels have been great. He's been training with a smile on his face. So, I think it's going to be, a really successful few years for him now over the next couple of years at featherweight.
I mean, he moved up in weight and he looked very comfortable, to say the least. But how big of a statement was it to not just defeat a tough guy like Amir Khani, but to hand him a submission loss? I mean, he is an absolute wizard on the ground. How big of a statement was it to the whole of the featherweight division to get a submission over Amir Khani?
Again, it's Jack. I do feel sometimes he doesn't get the props he deserves. You see some of the comments off the media and some of the fans online. Oh, well, Amir Khani, he gasses, in the second round. I think, well, Christ, apart from Lerone, he's beaten every English fighter and stopped every English fighter he's ever faced. He's never been submitted. He's gone the distance with Arnold Allen. He's gone the distance with Shane Burgois. Edson Barboza, people are talking about his cardio, but he's done 3 rounds against Edson Barboza, one of the biggest savages in the history of the UFC. So, we knew he would tire. We game planned for that. Sloppy takedown in the first. He lost the first round, but I knew in round 2 and round 3 then we could pick up the pace. And I done an interview with Peachy Calloway. I don't ever do predictions, but I said I think we get a stoppage late in round 2, and I was bang on.
I mean, I'll be honest. I had a bet on Jack by submission, so you
you've done all right then.
You won me a bit of money.
We're not allowed to bet and won the bloody fight, so it's ridiculous.
Did you like a bet?
Not even the point. Oh, mate, I never bet more than £1, so.
I mean, I see Jack's quite.
They take a little bit, but I like doing it just see how I do, and I get about 80% right on accumulators. We have a good win ratio.
Well, there we are. Next time you have a look through UFC cards, you can send them my way, and you can make some money. You can make some money for me. But I mentioned a moment ago, we did see you going back and forth on social media with a few of the fans who may be questioning Jack. You've done it for quite some time now. Is that something you enjoy, just going back and forth with fans on social media?
Listen, I don't go back and forth. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's when there's an absolute lack of respect there. That's what gets my back up, probably more as a father than a coach. But, when they're so full of themselves and, I think the one guy had written, Amakari will sub him in a round, send him back to the bantamweight division. He doesn't belong up there and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, everybody's entitled to opinion, but there's no need to be disrespectful on it. I deal with a big team of fighters. I'm never ever disrespectful to an opponent before, during, or after a fight. So I do enjoy getting stuck into them and just shutting them up a little bit. But Jack gives me a bollocking for it. Mind, he says I should stay off there, but can't help myself sometimes.
I find it absolutely hilarious. So please keep doing it. Me and Ben were literally going through our Twitter after, just absolutely dying at all the comments you were putting back to people. It was so funny. And to be honest, I'm surprised I didn't see a Roy Keane tweet on there, to be honest. That's the next one I was expecting.
No, we keep Roy separate. Roy's my man.
I know.
Let me show you something.
That's all. I can tell he's your man. Oh, look at that beauty. What's that from?
It's just something the kids bought me for Father's Day. It's up with all my
Look at that.
Got Brett Johns' first fight at Show MMA, Jack Shaw's first fight in the UFC, and the legend that is Jack Marshall's first fight in the UFC. So Roy's got pride of place on my wall with all my other memorabilia.
I love that. You've got your son next to the other Shaw MMA fighters, then you've got a completely separate wall for Roy Keane. I absolutely love that. That's where your priorities lie. I see where that is. But when can we maybe see Jack back in the octagon, and also against which sort of opponents? Because Jack, before UFC 286, spoke to Ella, who trains at Shaw MMA and also works for Combat Sports UK, and he claimed that there are a few names thrown around in the lead up to the fight. Can you maybe tell us who they were? And can we maybe expect to see him face those sort of names in the next bout?
One of my earpods is on. What's happened here? I'm useless with these, honestly, God. Well, the UFC are back in. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, the UFC are back in London, 22nd of July, and Jack's baby's due on the 27th. So it's definitely not going to be July.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably looking July, something end of September, October. Just based on, I know for a fact, like he's got concerns about myself as well at the moment, which I understand. So he's just brought me back from the hospital today after I've had my treatment. So he's got a lot of things on his mind outside the fight. And the last thing we want is to be away in July, preparing for a fight, and then we have a phone call. His girlfriend's gone into labour early or something like that. So we've got to be real on it. It'll probably be September, October. There's a next Abu Dhabi card, October 21st, I believe, and I would love to go on that. Love to go back to Abu Dhabi outside of COVID restrictions. I think that would be a great one to tick off the bucket list. But maybe October and possibly one towards the end of the year. But, opponent-wise, people seem to think that we have a say in it. The UFC just send us an email and it'll say, like, for example, we're offering Makwan Amikari. We have never, ever negotiated a fight, mate. And this is no bullshit. Since we signed with the UFC, Jack's had 7 fights and probably 16, 17 opponents, which we've signed contracts for. We've signed everyone. Saeed Nurmagomedov, Uman Nurmagomedov. We're in the toughest, organisation in the world. You can't pick and choose, So we're not one of those guys. Whoever they send, and listen, we've called for fights before, and you just don't get them, So for me, it's a case of we'll wait and see what the UFC come back with. I think it'll probably be somebody who's well established, just outside the top 15, with a view to then pushing Jack into the top 15 after 2 fights in the division.
Do you have any names in particular, or no guess?
No, honestly, I mean, it's a stacked division. I'd say probably the top 30 fighters are all capable of beating each other from 20 to probably from 15 to 30. So, no, we're comfortable, mate, whoever we'll take on.
Lovely. We look forward to that. But I just want to move to the UFC 286 post-fight interview with Daniel Cormier. Jack obviously broke the news to the world that you had been battling cancer and taking on chemotherapy. Yeah. First of all, I've got to say, you're an absolute inspiration to all of us. I mean, the way you've been continuing your business with Shaw MMA and everything outside of that, it was such a crazy thing to see how you've handled that so brilliantly. And I think social media kind of agree with me, and they showed you so much support, honestly. How touching?
Yeah, it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, why haven't you mentioned it? There's been nothing." I'm not one of these guys who, I'm in the public eye a lot, but my private life is my private life, and you very rarely see my wife and my daughter involved on stuff that I post or whatever on, because it's not their scene. So when I had the diagnosis, it was tough enough for the family without. I don't know. I'm just not one of these people. You see it so often. People can't wait to go on Facebook and broadcast bad news. I was one of these. It's like, well, we've been dealt the hand. We've got to deal. See what we do. I'm one of these. Like, it's life. Life throws shit at us. So you can either roll over and die, or you can, stand up, look it straight in the eye, and go, well, let's go. So we're in the middle of the let's go period. But the team has been great. The coaches have been great down there. I've had to miss a fair bit. The chemotherapy made me really ill. And again, the amount of people that are not aware that I was going through that is probably my friends, family, and the team, and it's not something we broadcast. And in fairness to the team, they didn't go putting it all over social media and speaking about it. So when Jack said what he said, it upset me a little bit because there's been an overwhelming pressure leading into this fight. And again, when we talk about the pressure behind Jack, I think that was a massive one. The fact that I was not well, there was always that chance that I could take a turn for the worse and not be in the corner due to the treatment, But, I think, honestly, I bet I had I'm not exaggerating, in excess of 1,000 messages from people all over the world, people I know, people I don't know, people whose parents have died of cancer, people who's going through cancer, fighters just sending me kind messages, fighters wishing Jack all the best, people offering support. It was unreal. The traction it gained just off Jack delivering that speech was incredible, So I really touched on it. And like I said, we raised money for the cancer ward that's looking after me at the moment. We raised just over £1,900 between the raffle and the collection at Cage Warriors Academy will. So thanks to everybody there. That money is so important for them. When you see how little they got down on them wards, and you see some of them kids down there, I'm going to ask it to be spent on something for the kids down there.
I was literally, that was my next question about that raffle that you did on Saturday night. Just how special was it for you to give back so generously to a place which means so much to you?
It's going to be a big one now. I mean, we always do a charity collection at and going forward, it'll always be now for that. Well, listen, these people, they're unsung heroes, Pop down when people talk to me about, oh, I'm struggling with my mental health. Oh, I'm really down. Oh, I got to come down there with me and have a wander around this ward, and then you'll like even me in the situation I'm in. It could be a lot worse. There's kids down there, that are dying, and watching how the parents have to deal with this situation. It's horrific, mate. It's horrific. And just watching how them staff down there look after people. I could not ask. People give the NHS a tough go. I could not have better treatment. I could not have better care. Literally, I've just done the interview earlier. That was a review. They're ringing me to see how the treatment on the radiotherapy is going. Is there anything they can do? They're the most kind, lovely people you could wish to meet, and they work in long hours. So, they don't always get the respect and reward they deserve. So if I can help in a little way by giving them a couple of quid every couple of months, I'll continue doing that for the rest of my life. I've got a good one on the next one. I'll show you here. My friend Brendan Lyons, who is Tyson Fury's personal bodyguard, has got me a Tyson Fury glove signed. And I'll be raffling out my UFC walkout hoodie, which will be signed by me, Jack, Carl, and the entire team will sign that. So we should earn a few quid again at the next one for them.
That is absolutely class. And although the raffle is now over and the prizes have been claimed, is there anywhere for our listeners maybe to donate now, or is there somewhere you can direct them?
I don't want to put the bank details out, but if they drop me a message, I've opened up a Salty account, which the money goes into, and then I just bank transfer straight through to the hospital.
Lovely. I hope we get some people donate, because it's such an amazing thing that they do, and they deserve every single penny in the world. But I just want to say you're an absolute inspiration to all of us. I mean, from the outside looking in, we didn't obviously have a clue, and it just looked like you were handling your business as normal, going ahead with Sure MA, and it's an absolute inspiration to see you tackling that battle with cancer, and it's phenomenal. So
this is life, and I have this conversation with some of the doctors down there, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't take the news well, and when they're going through chemotherapy, they feel ill, so they roll over, they stop exercising, they stop going through the door, so your body is being poisoned, your fitness levels are dropping, your appetite starts to drop. Me, I've had a set plan, I've been bulletproof, and I'll be releasing a blog. I've done about 23, 24 videos at the moment to date. We've done like a step-by-step guide, all starting from the day before I started chemotherapy. And it's an interesting watch, but you'll see a lot of my videos there in the gym on my own, where I make a concerted effort on day 5 after chemotherapy of going back to the gym. I can't train like I used to train, but I could still get a little bit of weights done, a bit of the cross trainer, a bit of running, get a sweat on, have a sauna, and just feel a 1,000,000% better when it's coming from there. So once, fingers crossed, once I get all the clear, my treatment finishes, you're talking a couple more months yet, I'll be releasing this video blog with an open-ended message to anybody local. If they want me to open up the gym for them to have a training session in private, just help them through their recovery and take some advice and some guidance on what I've been doing, I'll be more than happy to do that for people.
That is absolute top class. But finally, I just want to touch on a few upcoming fights for the Shaw MMA Army. We have the gangster, Oban Elliott, who returns for the first time in 2023. He takes on James Shin in a bout which promises absolute fireworks. How much are you looking forward to this bout, and how do you expect the two to match up on fight night?
It's a great fight. I mean, Sheehan's probably the Irish version of Oban is in Wales. The up-and-comer, a lot of people pinning their hopes on him. He's from a fantastic gym, Team Ryan. I've got a lot of respect for Andy Ryan and Paul Redmond and the guys that train out of there. We go back a long way, Been in the game a long time, so I've known Andy about 20 years, and known Paul since he was a youngster competing. But they've got a really good special team out there. Sheehan has seen his last fight with Richardson, is a real top-level competitor. So this is one of those fights in Oban's career in his apprenticeship that this is the next step up for him. And I think, surely a convincing win over Sheehan in Dublin in front of that hostile crowd, which I dare say he'll have worked up to the max. If I know Oban, by the time we get out there, we'd be lucky to get out of there alive. But we enjoy the atmosphere of the Irish crowds. We've been out there before as the opposition. I think, he's got to be knocking on the door for the title then. I mean, I don't see who else in that division. What makes sense, It'll be interesting to see what answers. Jimmy and Reese, I see the title becoming vacant depending on who wins. I think if Reese wins, he sails off into the UFC again. I think if Jimmy wins, I wouldn't be surprised to see him retire at the top, belt on his shoulder. I think Jimmy's 39 now. He's been in the UFC, he's competed in Bellator. To take that Cage Warriors World Championship, is it a better way to go out? I don't know, defending your interim title against the current champion in Dublin. So I don't know, maybe I might be well off the mark. Jimmy might have aspirations, but I just think it's a fairy tale ending to his career, really. But that title might be vacant, depending on the results. And there's a few interesting matchups there. They say Ian Dean's brain will be working overtime when he thinks of somebody to fight for that vacant title. But Oban's capable, he's got all the tools. One thing we were struggling with, I think, a little bit was mindset. And I think he's put that right the last 3-4 fights. His attitude has been spot on in the gym. Attitude in fights has been spot on. And, he can go as far as he wants, Oban. So we just see what happens now after Dublin. And fingers crossed we get the result. And we move on to better and bigger things.
I mean, Oban talks the talk and he walks the walk. And that weekend in Dublin is going to be absolutely wild if Oban says anything in the lead up. But that walkout as well is going to be absolutely crazy with all the fans.
Oh, listen, them Irish gave you. We went out for Brett fought and Scott Pedersen fought on one of the Bellator cards. Brett fought an Eastern European guy, so that they were on our side. But Scott Pedersen fought Nathan Kelly from John Kavanagh's gym. And honestly, the atmosphere, this is like, I've said this in a previous video, I think Scott was 2-2, I think Nathan was 3-2, so not even high-level guys. And 8,000 Irishmen screaming support for Nathan Kelly. I was in the opposite corner, and his were up on the back of my neck, and I was just thinking to myself, this is what I want. This is what I want for Wales, a big show like this coming over the water, and the Welsh fans getting behind it. like we used to see in the old days in the Ice Arena when Jack Shaw won the Cage Warriors title. You'd have a stacked Welsh main card and the crowd would get behind it. But we need those days back over here sooner rather than later. So, like I said, the Irish, unreal. Over, you probably need security to get us out of there. But, it's all good. It's all respect. I know Oban's got a lot of respect for James. Me and my coaching team, we've got nothing but respect for James and his team. And we look forward to it. And I guess me and Andy Ryan will have a beer or two after the fight as well. We got that sort of relationship.
Honestly, we're looking forward to that fight. But there's also one name that hasn't fought in a while, and that's Brett the Pikey Johns. He's obviously very focused on this Saturday coming up in the South Wales Derby. So maybe it's not the best time for him to even think about a fight. But
right, Brett is matched. So we've signed the contract. Everything's done and dusted. I'm not allowed to say anything until they release it. But I'll let you work out in your own minds that you'll probably see him in May.
Oh, that's very soon as well, to be fair. That's a lot sooner than I was thinking. But there have also been back and forths with Brett and James.
On a very big card.
Pardon?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very big card in May, I suppose. But yeah, back to James Gallagher and Brett. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that fight. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think that fight will happen.
No. Is
why wouldn't Bellator? And hats off to James. James is calling for this fight, man. This isn't us chasing James and James avoiding the fight. We've had dialogue with James, and James is 100% up for this fight. And both parties wanted it on the recent Irish card.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it blows my mind how these international, UFC are guilty of it as well. Sometimes, like putting Jack in New York a week before a London fight. These things make no sense to me. And they wanted Brett. I strip it back. I'll be honest with you. So James, they put on an American card. He's withdrawn injured, but they tried to put Brett then on a card in the USA in March, and Brett's gone back to Bellator and said Richard can't leave the country until April. I think it's April the 14th is my last day of treatment, so I haven't been able to leave the country because it's been ongoing treatment, and I'm not comfortable to go and fight abroad unless Richard comes with me. They've been very understanding and famous to them. They was like, right, totally respect that. But this has been the main reason why the fight has not happened in the early part of the years, because they wanted him to fight abroad, and I was not in a position to go and corner him. His choice, I'd have had no issue if he wanted. He's got to earn his money, but he made the decision that he feels more comfortable as a team when I'm there. So I take that as a big compliment coming off somebody of Brett's caliber. But you'll see us on the plane in May.
Oh, we look forward to that. You've got a few hectic weeks coming up, mind. You got Dublin and then...
I'm busy, mate. We've got Manchester as well. Cage Warriors Manchester.
Of course.
So what have we got? We got Manchester. I got Josh Reed, Scott Pedersen. Not I'm calling him, but Reece McEwen, who does a lot of training with us, is on the card as well. So I got a vested interest in this. So those three. The following week, then I've got my show MMA Interclub, which we always have like 90 to 100 people turn up and compete. The following week, then we got Dublin. I then get a week off, and then we're off somewhere with Bellator.
I don't know how you do it, but honestly, that's a testament to you. You've got all this stuff coming up, and you're still sat on a Zoom call with me for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Giving me all the
I'm too soft with you. That's the trouble there.
I know. Honestly, you let me in Cage Warriors Academy Wales. You give me all the freedom, but I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. But honestly, Richard, those are all the questions I have for you today. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your hectic schedule to chat with me. And for anyone out there now, if you want to donate to the Cancer Ward at Ebbw Vale, just
drop me a message. I'll send them the bank details and they can do a bank transfer.
Perfect. I hope people get in contact with you because they do deserve all of it. But thank you so much for joining me today, Richard. I appreciate it very much.
Cheers, my man. Speak soon.
Thank you. Cheers.